wife texted me, "I want a divorce. From now on, speak to my lawyer." I didn't reply. I just canceled her credit cards, removed her from my insurance, and froze every joint account. 72 hours later, her lawyer called me, saying she couldn't afford to file the divorce. The text came at 2:37 p.m. on a Tuesday while I was in the middle of approving a major supply order. Just a simple message from my wife of 14 years. "I want a divorce. From now on, speak to my lawyer. He'll contact you tomorrow." No explanation. No discussion. Just a digital execution notice for our marriage, sent between her yoga class and her hair appointment. I read it 3 times, waiting for the shock, the anger, the hurt, something. But all I felt was a strange, cold clarity, like finally seeing the answer to a problem I'd been working on for years. I'm Luke, 46, master electrician and owner of a commercial electrical contracting company. My soon-to-be ex-wife, Mary, 43, hadn't worked since we married. Her career as a paralegal was too stressful. She decided about 6 months into our marriage. I supported her decision, even though we discussed her continuing to work when we got married. That became the pattern of our life together. Mary making unilateral decisions, me adjusting to accommodate them. Her decision to quit therapy because it wasn't helping. Her decision to max out credit cards I didn't know existed until the collection notices arrived. Her decision that we needed a bigger house in a more prestigious neighborhood, despite the hour it added to my commute. Perhaps the most significant, her decision 4 years ago that she no longer wanted children after I'd spent a decade enthusiastically planning for a family. "I've changed my mind," she announced over dinner one night. "I don't want to ruin my body. Please get a vasectomy." I didn't, but I did stop bringing up the subject of children. In 14 years, I'd built my company from a one-man operation to a firm with 26 employees and contracts throughout 3 states. I worked 60-hour weeks while Mary attended wine clubs, yoga retreats, and spent time with her circle of equally idle friends. She'd made an art form of spending money, designer everything, memberships to exclusive clubs, constant home upgrades that seemed to revolve around whatever her friends had recently acquired. I'd been thinking about divorce for nearly 2 years, had even consulted with a lawyer 6 months ago, just to understand my options. But I hadn't acted, partly from inertia, partly from the ridiculous hope that things might improve. Now Mary had done what she always did, made a unilateral decision. This time, I wasn't going to simply adjust. I didn't respond to her text. Instead, I called my lawyer, Benjamin, explained the situation, and asked him to prepare the necessary documents immediately. "She's getting ahead of herself," he warned, "probably trying to secure the more aggressive attorney in town so you get stuck with someone less experienced." "Let her try," I said. Next, I called my bank and initiated the contingency plan I'd established during that meeting 6 months ago. Transferred half of our joint accounts into my new separate account. Left the other half accessible to Mary as legally appropriate. The account manager confirmed that all automatic payments from our joint account, utilities, mortgage, insurance premiums would continue uninterrupted. Then I called my credit card companies, canceled the additional cards issued to Mary on my accounts. This wasn't about leaving her penniless. The half of our liquid assets I'd left accessible to her was substantial. This was about ending her ability to continue accumulating debt in my name. Finally, I contacted my insurance broker and removed Mary as a beneficiary on my life insurance. Changed it to my sister's kids' college fund. Removed her from my company health insurance plan, though I authorized COBRA coverage notification as legally required. All of this took less than 2 hours. By 4:30 p.m., I'd locked down everything I could without crossing legal boundaries. That evening, I didn't go home. Instead, I checked into a hotel and ordered room service. Turned off my phone. Got a solid 8 hours of sleep for the first time in months. In the morning, I turned my phone back on to find 17 missed calls from Mary, 43 text messages, and 9 voicemails. I listened to one. "What the hell did you do? My cards aren't working. Call me back right now." I didn't. Instead, I forwarded all her messages to my lawyer and went to work. By noon, my office manager told me Mary had called the company line 6 times, becoming increasingly hostile with each call. I instructed the staff not to put her through. At 2:14 p.m., exactly 23 hours and 37 minutes after her divorce text, my phone rang with an unfamiliar number. Luke speaking. Mr. Davidson, this is Gregory Walsh. I represent your wife Mary in your divorce proceedings. Interesting. She texted me yesterday saying you'd contact me. That was fast. Yes, well, there seems to be some misunderstanding. Mrs. Davidson intended to consult with me about potentially filing for divorce, but no formal arrangements were made. She has not officially retained my services. I see, and yet she told me to speak only to you. He cleared his throat. Yes, that was premature on her part. In fact, I'm calling because it appears there have been some significant financial changes in the last 24 hours that Mrs. Davidson was not expecting. No changes, Mr. Walsh. Just precautionary measures following her divorce notification. Half of our joint assets remain available to her as required by law. Her credit cards on my accounts have been canceled, as is my right since they're my accounts. She's been removed as beneficiary on my life insurance, which is also my right, and she's been removed from my company health plan, though she'll receive COBRA information shortly. Nothing illegal or improper. Silence. Then, Mr. Davidson, perhaps we should discuss the situation more amicably. Mrs. Davidson may have acted hastily. Hasty would be texting your spouse of 14 years that you want a divorce with no prior discussion. Everything since has been measured and deliberate. She's quite distressed. I imagine so. My lawyer will contact you tomorrow to discuss next steps. Good day, Mr. Walsh. I hung up, smiled for the first time since receiving her text. The following day, about 48 hours after Mary's divorce text, Benjamin called. He sounded amused. Gregory Walsh contacted me. Apparently, Mary didn't actually hire him yet. She had a consultation scheduled for tomorrow. He was doing her a courtesy by calling you early. And he says Mary would like to put divorce discussions on hold while you two work through some issues. Interesting backpedal. Indeed. I told him that while you're open to mediation regarding division of assets, the divorce itself is non-negotiable. Perfect. At the 72-hour mark, Gregory Walsh called me directly. Mr. Davidson, I wanted to inform you that I will not be representing Mary after all. We had a professional disagreement about how to proceed. I appreciate the courtesy, Mr. Walsh. May I ask why you're calling me rather than having my lawyer contact you? He hesitated. Frankly, Mrs. Davidson cannot afford my retainer now that her access to funds has been adjusted. She asked me to negotiate a restoration of her previous financial arrangements in exchange for a more amicable divorce process. So she tried to hire you to negotiate her ability to hire you? Essentially, yes. I declined. Very professional of you. One more thing, Mr. Davidson. Off the record, I've been practicing family law for 27 years. The text message your wife sent you, I've seen similar tactics hundreds of times. It's designed to shock the spouse into making poor financial decisions out of emotional distress. You are the first client, potential opposing client, rather, who responded with such immediate and comprehensive financial diligence. Most impressive. Not my first rodeo, Mr. Walsh. Good day. That evening, Mary showed up at my office as I was leaving. She'd been crying, her designer outfit from 3 days ago notably less crisp. Luke, we need to talk. This has all spiraled out of control. I kept walking toward my truck. Nothing to discuss, Mary. You made your position clear. Contact my lawyer. I can't afford a lawyer now. What am I supposed to do? I stopped and looked at her. Really looked at her, perhaps for the first time in years. The county offers free legal aid for divorce proceedings. I suggest you start there. How am I supposed to live? You canceled all my cards. They were never your cards, Mary. They were my cards with your name on them. And you still have access to half our liquid assets, about $327,000. If that's not enough to sustain you while the divorce proceeds, perhaps reassessing your spending habits would be beneficial. You're being cruel. No, I'm being fair. There's a difference. As I drove away, my phone began ringing. I let it go to voicemail. Later, I listened. Luke, please. The text was a mistake I was angry about. It doesn't matter. I didn't mean it. Can we please talk about this? I still love you. 14 years has to mean something. It did mean something. It meant I'd spent 14 years with someone who viewed me as an ATM rather than a partner. Someone who made unilateral decisions and expected me to fall in line. Someone who thought she could blindside me with a divorce text and somehow maintain control of the narrative and my finances. The divorce proceedings were surprisingly straightforward. Without the financial leverage she'd expected, Mary quickly agreed to reasonable terms. No alimony, given her substantial settlement and employable skills. Equal division of marital assets. I kept my business entirely as it had been established before our marriage with proper documentation maintained throughout. 6 months later, as we signed the final papers, Mary looked at me with tear-filled eyes. I made a terrible mistake. No, I corrected her. You made a series of terrible decisions. The text was just the last one. Could we ever? No. I walked out of the attorney's office a free man. That evening, I received a job application from a paralegal looking to re-enter the workforce after a long absence. The name at the top, Mary Davidson. I deleted it without response. Some doors once closed should remain that way. Last I heard, Mary had moved in with her sister, was working at a small law firm, and complaining to anyone who would listen about how I'd tricked her. But here's the thing about financial preparedness. It's not trickery. It's protection. It's looking at a text message telling you your marriage is over and having the clarity to see it not as an ending, but as a financial and emotional negotiation. Mary entered that negotiation thinking she held all the cards. She didn't realize that for years, I'd been quietly building a hand of my own, not out of malice or anticipation, but out of the same careful planning that had built my business. The lesson? When someone shows you who they are through their words, believe them. When they show you through a text message, take immediate action. And when they call 3 days later wanting to take it all back, let that call go to voicemail. Some messages, like some marriages, don't deserve a response. Edit. Thanks for all the comments. To answer the most common questions. 1. No, I didn't drain our accounts or leave her penniless. I transferred exactly half of our joint assets to my separate account, which is perfectly legal and appropriate. She had immediate access to substantial funds. 2. Yes, I had legal right to cancel credit cards that were in my name with her as an authorized user. These weren't joint credit accounts. They were my accounts that she had access to. 3. For those asking if the timing of my preparations was suspicious, I consulted a lawyer 6 months prior because our marriage had been deteriorating for years. I didn't act on it until she sent the divorce text. 4. Some have questioned removing her from health insurance. In our state, removing a spouse from employer-provided health insurance is allowed if divorce proceedings are initiated. I ensured she received COBRA information so she could maintain coverage if desired. 5. And for those suggesting I was heartless for not discussing reconciliation. When someone ends a 14-year marriage via text message and directs you to communicate only through their lawyer, they forfeit the right to an in-person heart-to-heart. Actions have consequences.